Another
We
weeknight, another pod. Here we is.
Hump day, guys.
Yep. I had like 5 responses. I'm not going to use any of them. But yep, it is. And we got over a hump today.
We did.
Shout out to all the listeners and definitely the subscribers.
Cheers with water.
Cheers with water. Hold on, I got mine too. Cheers.
Cheers.
Out.
Cheers.
Let me take a sip real quick.
Over here, okay? Because they say it's bad luck to cheers with water, but to toast with water. But we got to 100 subscribers today.
Yep, okay? Sure did.
We did. All right.
And like we said in the post earlier on Instagram, for some people that's nothing. That's small change. That ain't nothing. But we got this little engine that could, and we excited that it's growing, and we just are thankful for everyone who's been a part of it. So whether you just watched the topic clips or whether you tuned into the live or whether you just left a comment, we appreciate each and every one of you. And we will continue to be here doing what we do 5 nights a week.
5 nights a week. Shout out to all of you who have subscribed to this here little show we got going on.
Right. The little engine that could.
We appreciate it, and we appreciate the community we're building because people are commenting, people are engaging with us, so this is exciting. I was really excited when we realized we got to 100. Gotta be honest. But
it's cool stuff.
It is cool. I mean, we knew that it was gonna happen, right? We talked about it, and we noticed that our subscribers were going up, and I said, we're getting pretty close to 100.
Right.
It's bound to happen now. When you can see it in sight, you're like, okay, cool. So, we appreciate you, all of you, for rocking with us, And,
absolutely.
Now, it reaffirms that we can, keep doing what we're doing. So what's the matter?
No, when you said reaffirms, I didn't know what you was about to say, Oh. I got nervous.
Yeah, no, I just mean, it's somebody's out there, somebody's paying attention to what we're doing. So that's it's nice to know. It's nice to think, okay, we can keep this going. There's people out there who, look forward to this or thought enough of it to get alerts for when our content drops. So,
right.
Yeah. And on that note, I will say that I am Dash, but I guess if you're a subscriber, you know that.
That's funny. Tell them all the AKAs, you know what I'm saying?
I'm Dash, aka Dashing D, aka the real king of R&B, aka Vamoose. I'm not.
Not vanishing today?
I'm not vanishing today, aka cool grandma, but not really.
Got it. All right. And I'm JD, aka he who pods, aka he who reads all things on this pod. You know what I'm saying? AKA the reader.
The pod reader.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's me.
That's you.
So should we start with reading? Should I speak to them a little bit about vinyl?
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. I'm excited about that topic.
All right, let's pull it up. All right. So this article is from The Verge, and it reads: Vinyl records outsell CDs for the second year running. Last year's vinyl revenue in the U.S. more than doubled the amount spent on CDs. People bought 43 million vinyl records last year, according to the Recording Industry Association of America, or RIAA. That's 6 million more than the number of CDs sold in 2023, marking the second time since 1987 that's happened, and reflecting the steady 17-year running growth of vinyl sales.
Mm.
Vinyl, which tends to be pricier than CDs, the newer format, an actual money made. This is worded weird. Vinyl, which tends to be pricier than the newer format, also far outstriped CDs in actual money made, ranking in 1.4 billion compared to the 537 million from CDs. The RIA's report shows that CD revenue was up too, but in terms of physical products sold, people actually bought about 700,000 fewer CDs in 2023 than the year before. If you're curious, nearly 500,000 cassettes sold last year too, according to Billboard.
Oh, do cassettes really still sell? That's so interesting. I did not know that. I guess if you can buy a cassette player, you can play a cassette, which is the same thing for all of this, right? Um,
Yeah,
but I don't hear anyone really talking about buying CDs.
no,
In fact, we spoke about how Best Buy was getting rid of all of their physical media
yeah.
um,
No, I don't need these
recently.
anymore.
So, but I do hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'm going to buy a record player," or "Oh, I own a record player and I'm
Right.
getting
Vinyl.
records." Yeah, I'm buying vinyl. I mean, I got vinyl for my brother for Christmas. Um, really interesting. My 12-year-old niece the other day said that she wanted a record player, which
Mm,
is fascinating to me because,
right. Who told her about that?
well, the kids are playing records. I mean, if Ariana Grande and Taylor Swift are selling vinyl, they're
Yeah,
buying it.
yeah.
So I think it's really interesting though the way like I remember having a record player at home
Hmm.
and all like the old like music from the 80s and playing that on the record player like an old I'm talking old like old reggae that my parents had on vinyl. We
Right.
had Past the Dutchie on vinyl.
Nice.
We had the Bad album on vinyl.
Nice.
So to me, it's wild to hear a 12-year-old today say that they want a record player because I thought that era was over. I mean, I know now, like in recent years, people are into it. Hell, I've even considered buying a record player,
Mm,
um, you know, to listen to um, some of my faves on wax. But
right.
I just think it's really interesting that it's coming back. But there is this resurgence of the '90s and this resurgence of things that were old and are now new again.
Right.
So I feel like this is part of that.
Yeah. I mean, listen, vinyl has been in a huge uptick. I mean, they're saying over the last 17 years. But really, the big boom has come the last couple years. I know somebody who owns a record shop. Shout out to Brandon. And he's constantly got people coming in there. He actually makes fun of people coming in there because they come in there and ask for all type of weird new stuff. And his shop sells older music mostly.
Oh,
And so
that's
they'll
dope.
come in there and be like, "Hey, you got the new Taylor Swift?" And he's like, "Man, get out my shop." And so,
Yeah.
it's really interesting,
Mhm.
but it's legit. People are really buying vinyl. Vinyl is clearly on the rise more and more and more.
Yeah.
Um, what I think is interesting is that it brought up 1987, and I'm like, man, that's like the year we were born, and not only that, but that's a long ass time ago. So for this to be the second time since then,
Yeah.
wow, that speaks volumes about how much volume is being sold. Also, we know that. Excuse me. Also, I didn't know that CD sales were kind of up as well. I thought they were down, but that's interesting that this article says that. I wonder. I mean, it says RIAA said it, so I guess it's valid. But I just
Yeah.
thought that was really interesting. I wouldn't have known that. But yeah, listen, I know lots of vinyl collectors. I know lots of people who DJ and collect and sample. Whether they're a producer or a DJ, and then there's other people I know that they just have huge collections. They celebrate Vinyl Day and they go out and crate dig all the time.
Mhm.
So to me, this is not surprising at all, but it is really cool. And I think it speaks about kind of what you're saying about how things come around, right? So we know that everything old becomes new again later on, right? And so the same way now, my kid, who's about to be 14, wants to wear super baggy clothes.
That is you, and that is exactly when you said that. I immediately thought of baggy jeans, slouchy baggy jeans.
Yeah. So it's back, right? And
Oh
so
yeah,
my kid, who probably fits a medium or a large, depending on the cut of the clothing, is like, "Yeah, Dad, can you buy me like a one or two X?" And I'm like,
you're
"A
like,
one or two
why?
X for what?" She's like, "Cause that's what I like to wear."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
okay.
The
And
clothes are
so,
extra big, and then now retailers are just making the clothes extra big. I think I
right,
said this to you off pod one day where I was like, I can't even go shopping
it's weird.
because I tried to go shopping one day, like it was really cold and I was underdressed. And I tried to buy a hoodie. And every hoodie I picked up was way, 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 way too big. And I'm talking about sizes that I would not normally wear. And
Right.
I was like, am I shrinking or
No.
are they are they just making larger clothes? And yeah, it's true they're making larger clothes. Like if you
Mhm.
want something to fit normally, you got to size down these days because that is what
Yeah,
people
that's the
are
trend right now.
consuming. That's the trend right now,
Yeah.
and it goes right back to the 90s where everybody was in oversized clothing or you had like the oversized bottoms and then the little crop top like all of that has come back, so
Yep. Yeah.
we sound old.
Mm. Hey, we said 1987, so
Right, right.
I think that says enough right there. But yeah, I think it's super interesting. I think it's really cool that the kids are into vinyl. Clearly people our age, we remember it from our parents or our grandparents. And we might want vinyl because we remember it, right? It's kind of a nostalgia for us. But I think it's really interesting that even the kids now are like, oh, this is this cool, trendy thing. It's so cool and different. I got to get in on it. And so I think that's really cool and interesting. But everything comes back around, right? Like flare jeans were a big deal a couple years ago. And my dad was like, what's wrong with y'all? This is not the 70s. Why are y'all wearing flare jeans? And my sister was like, Dad, shut up. It's cool. And he was like, no, it's not. It was cool in the 70s. And
Right. He was like, I don't
he looked at
understand.
me and was like, you better not get another afro. And I was like, I'm not doing any of that. I'm not the trendy dresser. I think that's pretty clear here.
He thought you were gonna be in your bell bottoms and your silky shirt
Nah,
with
I'm
your
not fly
afro.
enough. Not fly enough for any of that. I know some people who might could pull that off. You know what I'm saying? But
Hmm.
nah, not me.
Listen, we're definitely in one of those time warp, one of those time travel eras where we are. We are
Yeah, because
looking
everything comes
at.
back around. That's what happens.
Mhm. Yeah,
So now it's time for the 80s and 90s. And it's been that way a couple years. It just that
yeah.
now it's more mainstream because before it was kind of like if you knew that was kind of the in thing, it was like, oh, okay, so you're going to
Hmm.
wear like the the starter jackets again? Like Pele's are back. This is kind of weird. Why are people wearing this? But now it's like, yeah, man, this is cool. You know what I'm saying? And the prices are way up. Like before, you could just go to a thrift shop and be like, oh, I found some, starter jacket that was sitting in a Goodwill for 5 years. It's in pretty good condition. I got it. But now it's like, oh, yeah, that starter jacket is probably costing more now than it did in the 90s.
Them Levi's jeans, the ones that make your ass look boxy, expensive. Okay.
I didn't even know that existed. See, that's how out of
Oh,
touch I am.
you, yeah. Like, well, now they call them like mom jeans or whatever, but they make your butt look boxy for a lot of us gals. They just, they make a nice round rotund ass look.
Why would anybody want their ass to look like a box?
I don't
Next
have an,
topic.
I don't have an answer to that question. I think part of it is, and I think the reason baggy comes back around and like that sort of fit comes back around is because it's just more comfortable. And you got to remember the era we're coming out of. We're coming out of the lounge era. So athleisure was a thing before the year we never speak of anymore. Athleisure was a thing, right? And then that year happened, and then loungewear was the thing. Like everything was us wearing like our matching sweatsuits and things like that. We're transitioning out of that now, but it still has to be comfortable. That is my hunch. That's my theory that the clothes are still going to be comfortable. I think we're going to go back into the era where where the heels are really high and the clothes are a lot tighter. But for now, we're like you realize that we're transitioning out of the comfort zone, if you will, when it comes to clothing. I
Got
think
it.
that's what this is. I am not a fashion uh uh
Lies.
I'm not a fashion expert. I'm not a fashion editor. I don't make the trends or anything like that. That's just what I'm
You
guessing
are
is
you are very
happening.
tapped in. Stop it.
I no, I'm tapped in. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I'm not, I'm not someone who lives in that world. So someone who like works in fashion or does fashion might have a different perspective on this. This is just my observation. That's it.
Got it.
I didn't get that from anywhere is what I'm saying. That's not, no, 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 that didn't come from a source or anything like that. That's all I mean.
Got you. Okay. All
But yeah, so
right. Where you want to go next? You want to keep it music, or you want to be bad?
I mean, we could keep it to music for now.
All right. Um. So Juelz Santana.
I,
Well.
I, I, I.
Oh, I really thought something was wrong. I was like, "What's going on? Is she okay?" Yeah.
Isn't
I
that what
for
Juelz
I
is?
forgot. You caught me off guard. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I.
Yeah. That was accurate. Um. So Cameron and Mace had a conversation about
Mhm.
um basically Juel's decision making and musical output, career decisions and musical output. And Juelz has come out and responded. Um, he basically said that, yeah, he could have probably been the next Jay Z, but he never wanted to be the next Jay Z. He never wanted to be the king of the city. He always liked being the quote unquote prince of the city, where he was that dude, but not necessarily interested in being the top guy.
Mhm.
And he said, yeah, it's true that he never put out a lot of albums, but mostly it was industry politics. And, he doesn't blame anybody else. But he does have quality music out, 9 mixtapes, 2 mixtapes out with Wayne. Um, and yeah, I thought it was interesting that they spoke about his career choices and musical output. And I thought it was more interesting that he responded to them. And so, what do
Yeah.
you think before I chime in?
Well, I think we should just say that I think what they were saying, it was a compliment to him. I think they were trying to say that he could have been so much more. And they expected him to be on par with Jay Z. I
Right.
believe is how they how they um how they said it. So I don't know how that conversation came about. it seemed a little awkward to me.
Mhm.
Um, that they were having that conversation.
Okay.
I guess I don't know the context, and that's why I'm like, that's interesting that they stumbled upon that conversation. But fair conversation to have. Um, he doesn't sound like he feels that he took a wrong turn in his career.
Mhm.
He sounds more like I did what I did and I'm content with what I did and where I'm at. I know that he's had some challenges over the years. I would imagine, and I feel like maybe that's what he was alluding to when he said, my choices and things that I've done
Right.
contributed. So I think that he has had some challenges over the years, some legal troubles and things like that, that I'm
Yeah.
sure he's thinking about when he says that. Um, but nine mixtapes. Yeah, it ain't nothing to, just, oh, whatever. That's a big deal. I think he made a good point in saying that he's released a lot of music, even though it wasn't the way that we would, um, the way that mainstream music would, like, we would expect it to be in mainstream music.
Mhm.
But the fact that he's released that much music, and the fact that he's still very culturally relevant. I mean,
Is he
you don't think he is? You don't think that Dipset?
today?
I know dudes who still go to the concerts when they have them in Brooklyn.
Okay.
I mean, maybe my problem is New York bias, and I could admit to that because maybe in Atlanta ain't nobody thinking about Juelz Santana or Jim Jones, but I feel like over here they're still relevant.
I think Jim is very relevant and very active. Jim has put out a lot of music, a lot of albums, and he's made splashes, noise, whatever you want to call it. But Juelz, I don't think Juelz has been putting out music any and making any noise and been active. And Dipset as a whole, I don't. The only cultural relevance I've heard from them in the last couple years is when they did Dipset versus Locks for the verses.
Mhm.
But
Well,
before and after that, I don't think people were checking for them like that.
well, I'm not talking about putting out new music. I just mean, do they? So you don't think that they matter anymore to the culture?
Saying today, you said cultural relevance, not today. I
Yeah.
don't think.
Oh, okay.
Sure, I think.
Yeah.
I think. Listen, their heyday was when we were teenagers.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're at their peak at this point. I think people still. I think when I say culturally relevant, I think people still appreciate the music that they did make and the music that they did release. I'm not saying that every time, well, I don't turn on the radio, but I'm not saying that I walk outside and I hear people blasting them in their cars. Um, and they were never in, you know, Walgreens or wherever. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying as far as them being relevant to hip hop culture, yeah, I think they are. I don't think that that stops because you stop making music.
Okay, but relevance indicates today. No.
In a matter of speaking.
Okay, I agree that they're a hip hop staple. I'm not. I don't think there's any way around that. I think this Dipset had a huge following and was extremely important for New York during our teenage years. Um, and they made a lot of great records, a lot of great mixtapes. I'm not I'm not debating any of that. But when you said cultural relevance, I thought you were pointing to today, like people checking for Dipset today, because today there really is no Dipset. It's Jim Jones.
Yeah, no, I just mean that their music still matters to people. I don't think that
Okay.
I don't think that they were there has been music that we liked over the years that we don't think about those people anymore. We wouldn't even be sitting here having a conversation with them. We would probably be wondering why why someone interviewed them. Um there's a lot of artists that, especially in our, I would say in our younger days, that used to play on the radio and whatever, and maybe had one song that we all probably still, if we hear it today, we're like, oh my gosh. But other than that, like, we're not thinking about them, we're not considering them. I think they had enough music, they released enough music, and
Mhm.
they did enough. And like I said, it could be New York bias on my part, where I'm thinking bigger picture than maybe I should be, because no, do I go, I mean, I don't go travel the country to see what people are, what matters to people in terms of music. But I'd imagine, like I said, if I went to Atlanta or I went to Houston, they're probably not talking about Dipset. They're probably not talking about Juelz Santana. They have their own hometown heroes. But I feel like he said, like he was the prince of the city or whatever. I think that makes him culturally relevant. I don't think that takes him out of that just because he hasn't put out music in recent years. So
Got you. No, I agree with that. I guess I thought you were pointing more to today than yesteryear. But yeah, Dipset is a huge staple, and they've got lots of great records on all sides of things, mainstreams, B sides. They know how to make records. They were a great unit. I don't dispute any of that, and I think that's part of why people thought Juelz Santana's career was going to be so um, great, right? Because when he came out, he was the person who seemed to have mainstream appeal. He seemed to be the guy that was the young, cool kid. He seemed to be the guy who was very swaggy, as they said at that time. He had a lot of style. He was kind of creating trends. And so it seemed like, oh yeah, this is definitely the guy after Cameron who we're gonna see get pushed to the forefront. But actually, no, because as you stated, which I agree with early in your response, um, those mixtapes did not garnish him mainstream appeal. The way the music industry is set up, especially later in his career, where early in his career, yes, mixtapes were the shit. Mixtapes were a huge thing. As time passed and we got out of the early 2000s, once we hit 2010, etc., the mixtape era started dying down, and today it kind of doesn't exist.
mhm.
So yeah, putting out albums became more and more important for artists who were trying to garner mainstream appeal. And I think that's kind of where the Jay-Z conversation changes, because you're not going to become Jay-Z putting out mixtapes. You're not going to be Drake putting out only mixtapes. You have to be able to put out music that will give you mainstream appeal. And so that's kind of how you reach larger audiences, right? So you're not going to be putting conversations with Taylor Swift, for example, if nobody knows who you are. And mixtape are a niche thing. And so having that niche is awesome, but that niche kind of has died down. And so if you didn't make mainstream music or create a cult like following, it was harder to stay relevant in hip hop during those years. And I think that is a big part of it. Now he's saying it's industry politics and stuff like that. I can understand that. As much as I love Jay-Z, around the time that Juelz and Dipset were kind of at the top of their game, Jay-Z became the Def Jam CEO. And if Juelz was signed to Def Jam, which I'm pretty sure he was, I could see where the industry politics come in, because there was a bit of a rift between Cam, Dame. Jay, etc. at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I can see what he's saying, but I also think you kind of got to decide what kind of artist you want to be. The
Mm-hmm.
people who want to be Jay-Z or be Drake or be, basically what I'm saying is a popular mainstream artist,
Mm-hmm.
the type of music you make and the route that you take as an artist is a little bit different than the guy who's just trying to put out music for the hood or
Yeah.
music that necessarily is not going to, I don't want to say crossover, but not have the same kind of appeal, right? Like Jeezy is a good example of somebody who makes hood music, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
but also knows how to make music that's gonna get mainstream appeal.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think Juelz ever tried to create that balance of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I do like that he says, yo, I don't blame anybody. You know what I'm saying? I made those
Yeah.
decisions and I went through what I went through. Because we hear often a lot of people do blame other artists and do blame the labels and say, like, nah, it was so and so's fault. You know what I'm saying?
Dylan.
Exactly. Exactly. So I do think that's cool. I respect that he took accountability and said, nah, a lot of this had to do with me, my decision making, and my me not putting out albums.
Yeah. I mean, and you live and you learn, you know?
Right.
You grow up, and honestly, if he wanted to put out an album today, he could go through different channels at this point and put out music. It's a lot easier in terms of getting it to the public. So if that was something that he wanted to do, not impossible. Um, you, you know what else is possible?
Tell me.
Another Bad Boys movie.
No, I can't believe that this shit even exists.
Can you take it to the floor? Can you take me to the floor? That was Bad Boys too. Pop something, move something, shake your tail feather. Low or slow, go to the floor.
All right.
Let me see you take a look. Let me see you
Oh,
take a look. I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know what music was on the third one, so I can't. But that was the second
I
one.
don't know what music was on the third one either. I just know the third one was trash. But
This
yes,
time we're
Bad
going
Boys
bad.
4. What was that?
I said this time we're going bad.
Yeah, now that I've sneezed.
Now that you're,
Um, so Bad Boys 4, the trailer just dropped yesterday.
it did.
Um,
You weren't excited about this.
I'm not excited about the film existing, but I said, maybe the trailer will change my mind. Maybe I'll see the trailer and say, okay, I see where y'all trying to take the culture. And I don't see where they're trying to take the culture.
Oh, come on. You weren't excited to see Martin Lawrence and Will Smith back at it again, fighting crime, taking names. You know,
No,
it didn't do
no.
anything for you.
It did nothing for me. It did nothing for me. It's clear it picks up after number 3, and
Okay.
so that's fine. I see how they're picking up where 3 left off.
Mm.
Cool. Continuity. Thumbs up for that.
Yeah.
But this just looked like we're going bigger, we're going badder, we're going more guns and more explosions. I
Yeah.
don't I don't care about that.
Okay.
So
That's
I'm not impressed, and I have no interest in this film still.
yeah. Now, I want to point out that I was supposed to watch Bad Boys 3, and I will watch Bad Boys 3. It's just that I was having some difficulties locating it. So, I will watch it, and I will let y'all know exactly what I think, you know. But I mean, yes, it looked like a typical action movie with lots of explosions and lots of guns and cars flipping over and things like that. And that's kind of always been, it's not that I don't like action movies, and it's not that I wouldn't go see a movie like that. It's just that it's not the first thing I gravitate towards. Like,
Right.
prefer a story with more depth than that. I don't need half the movie to be explosions and cars flipping over and
Right.
like, try like shooting from a boat. Cause that's like, I feel like every action movie has like the same type of scenes. They're simply there to outdo each other. I'm convinced.
And that's what this trailer looks like. Sorry to cut you off, but
No, go ahead.
this trailer looks like, okay, we've seen y'all make 22 Fast and Furiouses. That's hyperbole. I know there's not 22 for those who are going to
Close
watch
enough.
this clip and comment. It seems like they looked and was like, "Oh, Fast and Furious made that many movies? Oh, people still watching Fast and Furious? All right, let's compete with Fast and Furious then.
Mhm.
Let's try to outdo Fast and Furious."
Right.
That to me did not help at all because I have no interest in Fast and Furious either.
No.
This looked like it's just for people who want no story, big action, big explosion movies, and that's not me.
Yeah. Neither me. Um. Yeah, I need a little bit more depth than that. I don't mind the crime, and I don't mind the guns and shooting and all all of those things. I don't mind any of that, but we got to have some depth. It can't be if this is going to be about uh which explosion is the biggest, then
Right.
I don't care about that. Not really, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
It's not even, well, it's coming out in June. I was about to say it's not even summertime.
Yeah, it
But
is.
that's
It
how
is
they
coming
get
out.
you.
Yeah, it's coming
Yeah,
out in June.
it's
June
coming out in
7th.
June. Yeah. But that's how they get you too. They're like, ooh, it's warm. People want to go and like see a movie and you get all excited about the action movies in the summer and I don't know. I feel like a lot of that has changed too over the years.
I'm going to predict that this one will be trash like number 3 was trash.
I figured you would predict. So we go pod field trip to Bad Boys 4.
No, hell no. Hell no.
Well, how are we gonna know that it's bad?
You can be the judge.
Nah, okay. Got it.
You can come give your movie review of 3 and 4.
3 and 4. Okay. Oh, yep. Well, there's that. So and with that, I don't
We're
have
out of
any
here.
I don't have a prediction for it because I didn't see the third one. But yeah, that's our show.
All right. We're out. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you again for listening, viewing, watching, commenting, subscribing. This is Weeknights. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.